Do you see that? Could be useful, if you like that kind of thing.
Oh, I like it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm your Halo-loving boy, Abram Buhner, joined by the heretic himself, Tucker Hazel.
Some call me the Arbiter.
But if you want to call us anything other than late for dinner, make sure to join our Discord link as usual, top of the description right down there. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, you know what to do. We are here to talk about the Halo Infinite campaign because we just got an overview trailer. I thought it was just going to be story content, and ultimately I kind of wanted to just skip that so I could just experience it. But actually, it's kind of a gameplay breakdown.
It's really more of a overview trailer in the most general sense of taking every element of the game structure, narrative, progression, combat, like flow of movement, all that, and giving it a little nice chunk throughout this, I think 6 minutes and 10, not pretty pithy. And of course, joined by our classic narrator, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. That was the first thing I thought about when we were watching the Nintendo Direct where they announced Super Rush and you said Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I've been waiting for a chance to use that again, use that against you.
Of course. Now here's the thing, Tucker. I love Halo, but I love Halo single player. So the multiplayer stuff has been super exciting. I've been really happy for the people who have played it and said it's awesome, and I'll dabble in it. But this was my bread and butter. This is what I was waiting for. This year, as people who have been watching BLB would know, I fell down a huge fucking rabbit hole. I've played the entire Halo saga
this year. You probably broke a leg down there. I mean, it was dangerous, but you climbed out mostly unscathed.
I played like 85 hours of Halo this year, just basically across the campaigns, just replaying them and replaying them. So I'm a little bit excited. And you come into this from an interesting place of being kind of middling on 1 and 2, interested in playing 3, but as Infinite is a reboot, and kind of looking to expand the franchise again. I'm really reboot in a sense. It's going to be a good entry point.
Naturally.
So what did you think?
I thought this trailer actually looked really interesting. I can't tell you. I can't tell you what exactly is new from a movement or from I know it's new from a movement perspective, from a gun perspective, from a vehicle perspective, from an enemy perspective. It all seems like Halo stuff that in the general consciousness I've seen before, but I think what does make this different is how it appears to be approaching the freedom of combat, of movement, of exploration. That does seem to make this a lot more interesting and engaging to me. It's the fact that you can give yourself new upgrades. There's a dash, there's an invisibility cloak, you've got your grappling hook that you can combo into things, and it looks like there's a lot of freedom in this. That is kind of what I'm looking for when it's like you're approaching a giant alien planet and taking down fucking strongholds and stuff. I'm glad it's not just double jump and an invisibility cloak now, or like shields or whatever. They certainly seem to be expanding it a lot more.
They are. This is basically what if Ubisoft made Halo Infinite, which I am incredibly conflicted about. I feel like after watching this trailer, I am both more and less excited for Halo Infinite.
Interesting.
Because I'm not, the thing about it is that this is open world now.
Yeah.
And I think the strength of the Halo campaigns before was the ways that they were linear and they crafted set pieces and they gave you multiple avenues into those. Like Halo 3 is a lot of really great kind of non-linear set pieces. And of course, they're still funneling you through a level, but you got multiple ways to approach, like the Scarab tank, for instance, right? That they give you that kind of flexibility in the combat sandbox without putting it in the context of an open world. And the reason that concerns me is because I'm not necessarily sure that a first-person shooter like Halo really is going to allow for the depth of side content and exploration that I think a good open world game needs, right? The reason that something like Breath of the Wild works is because it's all about the physics, and Halo is too, but it's a different kind of physics. Halo is about combat physics. Breath of the Wild is about climbing physics and finding secrets and puzzles and balancing traversal and combat and everything, right? And so I'm not necessarily sure that this format fits with Halo beyond the context of, the Far Cry open world checkbox of, as we see, here's a stronghold, attack the stronghold, clear the point of interest on the map, right? And so I'm nervous about how this format is really going to benefit Halo, opposed to just having a linear campaign with non-linear spaces within it. And I'm nervous is just going to lead to a lot of repetitious level design when the level design is really what propelled, I think, Halo 3, Halo Reach, and the best levels of Halo 2, and I think all of Combat Evolved to the heights that they hit. So
yeah, no, that's certainly interesting. It'll be interesting to see how big this world is. I mean, we know a Halo is a circle. There's no fucking way you can go all the way around it. I generally don't believe that's the case. But it'll be interesting to see where the levels end, how they taper things off into areas that you're supposed to go to, where the set pieces take place. And the reason I would say I'm not as concerned about this, because I'm not as big of a Halo fan. So naturally, like, this doesn't chart highly on my I'm worried about this meter. But because it seems like 343 got a decent amount of flack for Halo 4 and Halo 5 and people being mixed on those and wondering what their next approach to Halo has been or will be. It's been a while since 5. I'm interested in it from the idea of taking Halo in a new direction. Whether or not that sticks, I think having a new idea in there rather than just retreading the old ideas is exciting. 343 is, I think, as you said when playing through 4 and 5, it's like, well, okay, they're very clearly riffing on certain things from the Bungie games, and they've got some of their own ideas, but most of those new ideas don't necessarily work very well. This seems like they're taking an entirely new approach to it, and maybe that works better for them. And I think that's really what we can hope for. The best is that the best case scenario is that 343 is actually good at making this kind of game. And then this comes out and is great, because looking at what I'm looking at this game for with the trailer is the story is fine. They didn't go too much into it, but it seems like an interesting follow-up. It's not the fucking, what are the bad guys in the first one? The Covenant, whatever. I don't know what
the Covenant are there.
They're called the baddies now. What is it?
You got the Banished now.
Oh, okay.
The Banished, but what are they called? The Prometheans were the Halo 4 and 5 enemies that people really didn't fucking like to fight. It seems like those are all but gone. I feel like we might have gotten there's like that kind of basically Destiny Witch Queen looking enemy who you see for a second, who I think might bring in some more of 343's characters. I'm not exactly sure, but no, what you're saying I think is spot on. And that's, like I said, that's why I'm both more and less excited than before, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because the entire rollout for Halo Infinite, I've been so excited, but I've also felt kind of bad for 343, because basically what Halo Infinite is everybody saying what you're doing is bad, so do what somebody else did, effectively. Because the multiplayer gets almost entirely away from the enhanced mobility shit of especially Halo 5 Guardians, and the campaign got entirely away from those plot threads. Of course, we still have to deal with Cortana going as a rogue AI and all kinds of stuff, but a lot of the motifs, the characters, the Osiris team, all of that shit was gone. It really seemed like 343 was being told to put anything they started on the back burner and just pretend they're Bungie, which from the fans' perspective is good, but from a creative perspective, I always found to be a little bit troublesome, considering I can always go back and replay those Bungie games, right? So the fact that we are taking this in a new direction, as long as it can avoid those pitfalls I was talking about, I think it could be genuinely fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I hate to say it, but I actually really like the idea of upgrades here. I'm usually not an RPG elements type of individual. I think that, especially in a more pure gameplay experience like Halo, it just kind of dilutes that. Like Wolfenstein Youngblood is a great example where they're just like, hey, let's take a really arcadey old school shooter and just fucking arbitrate it with RPG elements that completely destroy your ability to approach your environment in different ways and play as a Wolfenstein game plays. But this, I think, could still work. The ways that you're giving Chief new abilities to take on the Banished and take on the Covenant sects that are with the Banished and all that, I think that has a lot more promise. And I got nervous for a second because you see one enemy with like a shield and health bar, but pretty clearly that was a boss encounter.
I think so.
And I think Halo's always had troubles with their bosses. So if they can get better bosses in this game, I think that'd be great. And we saw some really promising ones like the Covenant Elite, who's like a bounty hunter going after Spartans. They call him the Spartan Killer or something. I think that all seems really interesting. But what it really comes down to is the awesome sandbox moments we see in this trailer. Like Chief getting in that fucking ghost Or no, sorry,
Banshee.
he's getting
Yeah.
the Banshee, my bad. He's getting the Banshee, he flies up and he shoots one Banshee and then jumps out of his and grapples onto a third, yanks the Covenant Elite out and takes that back down. Like, that's the kind of...
That was such a cool moment. And I do
Yeah.
think that it's that flow that I was talking about
Yeah.
earlier that does make this really compelling to me. And combined with the upgrades and the idea that there is something more to this combat. Part of the reason I was not a huge fan of Halo 1 and 2 is that it felt like it was pretty vapid. Like,
Sure.
why do I care to engage with any of these enemies if I'm not getting anything out of it? And I think the idea of taking that floaty but satisfying combat that the Halo games that I've played have had, and putting it in the context of there being extra progression on top of it and an expanded arsenal, and with the combined open world sandbox physics of grappling a bomb to your thing and throwing it up to the ding and it falls down on the guy, like all that stuff seems really engaging and interesting. Is it the Halo experience that follows what the classic games did? I mean, obviously not, but I do think that it could be something fresh enough to warrant this being the infinite version that Halo has been leading to.
Yeah, I think it does a great... I think there is a lot of the classic games in there in terms of the slower pace of the combat, right? Halo 5 especially got fast, which I thought was compelling as just a different lens into Halo, but you were like, you were fucking jump jetting around and running off walls and clambering and then pulling out your Spartan pistol and freezing time in midair to hit headshots, and it was just a very different feel, right? And I think you still have some of that. You have that enhanced mobility, but in a slower sense, in the sense of you got your grapple beam, no, not your grapple beam, I'm not playing Metroid. You got your grapple hook, you got all of these enhanced mobility options that are still here in part, like the slide and the clamber and everything. So it feels like a good fusion, and it feels like it's going to, on a moment-to-moment level, be nothing short of really fucking fun.
Yeah.
My problem is not at all how the game looks to play. It's the context that we're being put in to play.
Sure.
And so that's where I get concerned. But if the core gameplay is as fun as it looks like it's going to be, then I don't think this campaign is going to be anything less than good. I just hope that it's able to add in some more environmental variety, add in some various mission types.
Have we? I'm pretty sure we've only seen just mountains and grassy terrain, rivers and stuff.
Yeah, we've only seen this one area of Zeta Halo, and I'm hoping that we go beyond it. Not beyond the ring, but I mean, Halo 1's ring has a ton of environmental variety.
Yeah.
Now, that was facilitated by the fact that those are levels, right? So you could be picked up and put wherever. And so I don't know how much space they'll give us to explore here. I hope we go to other biomes, because if not, I think that'd be a missed opportunity, especially if it's going to be more sandbox focused and physics focused. What if you could start an avalanche up in the mountains and use that fucking grapple? What if you could grab...
This is all pie in the sky nonsense, by the way.
Well, kind of, but if the focus is on physics and different combat approaches, if you could get in a Scorpion, cause an avalanche above you, drive in front of a base here, your Scorpion's here, cause an avalanche, grapple out of your Scorpion over an avalanche and crush the guys beneath you. That's the sort of stuff that is going to make the sandbox and the open world feel earned, right?
Sure. Yeah, great point.
Because sure, you could just have a reskin of the same area and it's snow aesthetics, right? But that'd be a missed opportunity.
Which seems more than likely, regardless.
It seems more than likely, but it'd be a missed opportunity in the context of an open world about different combat approaches if you didn't incorporate the environment like that.
True.
So
yes.
I do hope we see stuff like that. I am cautiously optimistic. As for the story, I think it looks cinematic. I like the ways that the cutscenes seem to move a little bit, almost God of War-esque. The camera's not cutting very often; it's tracking a lot, and
Sure.
I think that's going to be nice. On the whole, like I said, I don't know how much more I have to say, but it's a mix of the good and the bad, and I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah, it's interesting that even though this is our campaign overview trailer, it's not very long. And I do think that some sort of actual person breaking this down in sort of a live gameplay and cutting between different things would have probably benefited this more, because there's still a lot of questions to be asked. Is there that environmental variety? How big is the open world? How do areas connect together? Because it could even be that it's like Legends Arceus, or Monster Hunter, open areas that you have to cross between or get in the ship to go to another one. It could be something like that. How do you progress through the story? Is it just the checkpoints? Are there more linear sections where a set piece will happen? We don't know any of this. We just know it's an open world Halo game. Approach these combat encounters however you want to. It's a very general thing, but those deeper questions about what the format of the game is going to be are still left in my head. And I can understand why that would cause some trepidation from you, especially as a Halo fan.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Xbox is in a weird position where this is undercut by the fact that you just play it on Game Pass. You don't have an Xbox, play it over the cloud. Just see how it goes. Ultimately, I don't need to know anymore, frankly. I just want to experience it at this point, And we don't have very long to wait. If we had gotten this trailer like last E3, I think it would have been more disappointing. Because we're like, okay, God knows how long till the game comes out. Are you going to tell me a little bit more about it? But at this point, I feel like we've got the multiplayer is really fleshed out. The campaign, we've got a trajectory for how it lands. We'll find out in, what is that, 6 weeks or so? 5 weeks, 6 weeks?
Couldn't tell you.
I
don't know when this game was out. Okay.
December
But,
8th, so.
That's the last thing I want to say is thinking about how you're saying the rollout of this game worked. What did this trailer actually tell us that was new information? Because I was watching this and it kind of seemed like maybe we didn't know it all concretely, but it seemed like all of this was already hinted at or like general knowledge about the format of this game.
Well, I mean, effectively, the kind of tacit reason for this, of course, is it's the re-reveal after the campaign demo from E3, which didn't go over well. And so ultimately, it's a lot of the same environments, but it's presented in a much more polished state. And I think that's what 343 had to accomplish, and they did. I think the game looks very good.
Sure.
Visually.
I definitely agree. I also really like the environment design and like all flows together and shit.
But at the same time, we had seen raw gameplay before, but that gameplay didn't really demonstrate the outposts, didn't demonstrate the bosses, didn't demonstrate the different weapon variety, the fact you can call in vehicles, a lot of the more moment-to-moment gameplay ideas we didn't really know before. So there was quite a bit that was new, but ultimately I think it was just to show that, the campaign looks better than when you saw it last. So we'll see. Maybe we'll do a review for this game. You don't have an Xbox, so
I'd like to have an Xbox.
It'll be covered on the channel in one respect or another. I'll be home, so I'll probably live stream a lot of me playing this game.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, but like we said, if you want to share your thoughts about Halo, be sure to let us know in the comments or the Discord, wherever. Like the video, subscribe. It's typical YouTube stuff. Reward us for our hard work. You're not getting this content from anyone else.
No. Not with these fucking fresh, funky faces. Look at us.